We talked about all the cars in here.
Right.
We skipped one.
Right. So save the best for last, right?
Of course.
So the reason why I connected with you is because I want to tell the story about my car, right? So I built this car 20 years ago. And, you know, this is a 93 Honda Civic that has body conversions on it. And, you know, back during the golden era, that's what we did, right?
But this is the truth. This is the way it was done.
This is the way it was done,
yeah,
right?
100%.
And I think this is, like I said, like, hey, I got a story to tell, right? So this is the way it was done. Not a lot of cars are done like this anymore, if any, right?
No.
And I think there was a part, I want to say like 2010, people started like laughing at this, right? So I was like, all right.
Yeah, there was a generation gap where I don't know why, but that's kind of what happened.
So that's when I decided, you know what, it's time to put it away. And then I started working on my Lexus, which IS350, more normal build, right? But you know, had I not built this, I wouldn't have built the Lexus the way that I built the Lexus.
Yeah.
Because this is like inside out, everything's been touched, paint,
everything.
Body work,
everything,
right?
Yeah.
So motor, transmission, like everything's been done.
This is pure like heyday 2000s, just craziness.
Right.
This is back. Okay.
This is before Fast and this is what Fast and Furious is based off of.
Yeah, 100%. This was back when everybody took a super taillight and grafted it into the back of every single car. They took they took S14 headlights. They were
the MR2 scoop, right?
Yeah, they were doing all of that. It was crazy. All right, so let me show you guys. I'm gonna turn you around. He's gonna walk us through this, and we're gonna talk about this because this. All right, so first things first. This isn't an Integra, okay? So first things first, but you can't tell, okay? So. Like we were saying, in the heyday, this is perfect. This is a time capsule of the way it used to be done.
Right. So like it is a 93 Honda Civic. I was always a fan of the JDM front end, Integra, right?
Yep.
And back then you obviously knew, hey, Civic Integra have interchangeable parts. So I was like, well, let me stick that JDM front end on my Civic, right? So we did that, and then
did you do a whole front clip? Did you order a front clip when you did this?
No.
Okay.
Now, today, if I were to do this again, I would have done the front clip.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So everything's all custom on this. So people always ask me, hey, why don't you go turbo? Why don't you do this? Well, when you take all the pieces off, it's not so pretty, right? Because back then it was, hey, do what you can do to get it going.
Yeah. Okay, so nobody really wants to admit this, but that's the way SEMA cars are. When you really look, there's some that are really, really just pristine. Okay, they're Riddler winners, they're Foos cars, stuff like that. Okay, but for the most part, when you look underneath a SEMA car and you like really start to look, you're like, oh, okay, they just made it. They just it looks amazing.
Right.
So, but we were all doing these in a garage. We were all doing these, and it's like, well, what are we going to do to make it fit? Okay, well, we ream a hole out a little further, Okay, hey, cool, I got my body line,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it has to go.
Exactly. So, but this car used to be black. It's got repainted, custom red, and then when we did the hood, right, carbon fiber was in at the time, and I was like, man, like, I don't want a black hood on a red car. And so my body guy was like, you know what? I'm going to pinstripe it. And then I'm going to do this like gradation to it. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So that's what we got here. Right?
It actually looks amazing.
Yeah.
Most of the time, honestly, the execution doesn't happen on a lot of cars. So it's amazing that the lines are straight, like your gapping and everything on it is.
Mm-hmm.
It looks awesome. This is all my style, from we had that conversation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, this is what we all started with or all came up doing.
Yeah. So on this car, right, we have the M3 mirrors. It's got the, shaved rain gutters, shaved moldings, shaved door handle. But again, 20 years later, everything starts to crack, right? So when I took this car to Week Fest this year, I was really on the shelf, right? Because like those guys, like I care, right? Like even though
Yeah.
this car's won me tons of trophies in the past, I didn't want to bring it back out and people laugh at it or say, you know, like, you know, I would, you know, it was just something personal to me that I spent a lot of time building, and I just didn't want any kind of negative response on it.
Right.
But then Joey looked at it and I was like, yeah, you know, like it's cracked, whatever, you know, it's a 20-year-old build. I had it stored away for 12 years. Sorry, Joey and the judges, sorry.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I wanted to bring it out so that, you know, you could see it now. And if I decided to redo it, you guys would be able to see it next year or the year after redone. And he said something to me. He's like, why? He's like, a car like this, like the cracks is part of it.
Yes.
Right. That's part of the build.
I absolutely love. So he's talking about Joey from the Chronicles, from Sticky Dill Joe. He's been on the scene forever too. He's definitely, and you know, he's really not just a Honda guy. He's a JDM guy, but he's definitely a Honda guy. Okay, and he knows his cars.
Right.
He knows his builds, and that's one of the things I love about him is he's like, no, if this is the way it was built, like keep it true.
Right.
You don't need to redo the car.
Right.
You don't need to go, oh, hey, you know, it's been 20 years and I have, you know, the cracking in the paint, you know, it, like you can see like this minor imperfection, but it's what makes the car. It's the personality of the car. It's the way we did it.
Right. And it's crazy because I talked to some body guys, right? And they're like, hey, Harry, you know, I love the fact that you brought this thing back out. And I get like how much the car means to you. And when I talk about repairing it, they're like, dude, you know what? I've seen other cars that were built the same time that your car was built, and they don't look like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're much worse.
Yeah.
Like you're good. Like you're good.
You kept it really good, and whoever did your work, you know,
right.
and put it together, really knew what they were doing.
Right.
Because that's one of the things. Any place that there's extra Bondo, there's always cracking.
Right.
That's how it goes. Like, so he's going to show us the interior.
Right. So on the interior, right, a lot of color, right? But SAFC in the engine, in the glove box. I do have two gauges in there that controls the car stereo stuff. This is all the original Alpine stuff. Alpine CVA 1005 that has the pop-out screen, the EQ, the DVD player. It's funny because when I was driving around in this, I was playing with it and I was like, why doesn't this thing work? And it's because it's not touchscreen, right? Everything now is touchscreen, right?
It's all the buttons.
Right.
It's all buttons. Like it would fold out and everything, but you still had to hit all the buttons.
Right. So then obviously all the autometer stuff. So this panel, right, now I know you can buy it, but this was actually hand laid. Yeah. And then we sprayed it in red, right? Wow. So now I know you could buy it. So the interior used to be all tan. So when I say everything's been touched, the interior used to be all tan. We did, you know, we went to the junkyard, bought all black, all the black interior. Yep. So that's done. Even the headliner is red and black weave carbon fiber headliner. I don't know if you can catch a shot of that.
Let me see if it'll show up. Oh, that's cool.
Hard to see, I know, but it's,
no, it's crazy. I don't know how many interiors back in the day I swapped or painted or, you know, and then you'd have to repaint them later because all the paint, none of the paint would last. The paint would crack and everything else too. But I love it because it's like a time capsule. So you want to talk about time capsule.
Yeah, so we talk about time capsule, right? So when I started building, we did the audio first, right?
100%.
And then we did the looks, and then we did the performance, or performance and then looks, right? Audio was always first. Nowadays, audio is last, if even.
If even,
right?
Even.
And you won't see something like this.
No.
Right? You won't see something like this. So, you know, basically we got Pokemomo full audio system. Dreamcast is in here. I have some JL amps. Again, this thing had a CD changer, so it's all in there. When this was built, carbon fiber was a thing, so that's why you see the carbon fiber style wrap. It's silver on the inside, red on the outside. Car hasn't moved, so battery's probably dead. So this thing used to light up like a Christmas tree. believe it or not. You know, when you're competing, there's always that one guy that you're always trying to chase.
Yeah, yeah.
When he finally retired, I bought this piece out of his car because I was like, I thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? Monitor, pod, in the deck lid. So I actually, before he sold, I was like, can I buy that?
Can I have that?
Right.
Yeah.
So shout out to Wintang. He used to drive a yellow 93 Honda Civic, all yellowed out, racing heart wheels. Sometimes he would do Volk, one side, racing heart, other side. So that was a car that I was always chasing. That was the car that I was like, hey, I want to beat that car.
That was,
right?
yeah.
That car was in Super Street. And that car was real popular around here. But on this car, back end, IS300 taillights, or actually these are Altezza taillights. So I had a buddy back in, I was in college when I did this. So this car was the car that I actually bought after high school, and I drove it to college every day. Once I started like competing, I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
But, I had a buddy in the military. The Altezza had not come out in the US yet. So I had him go to Toyota, buy me the taillights.
What?
And so they did the back end with this. But then as soon as I got the car out of the body shop, APC dropped their Euro taillights. So everyone thought this was a Honda Accord. But these are actually, JDM taillights.
So what's crazy is, and those, you can actually, like right there, you can see it says Toyota right there.
Yeah.
The IS, when it came out, actually kind of broke the market, because that was the thing, is everybody wanted the taillights. Everybody wanted the IS taillights. We had problems with the police.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, those are illegal. You can't do that. Right. And then immediately the aftermarket was like, oh, everybody likes that. Boom, let's make them.
For every car.
For every car.
Every car.
And they weren't DOT at the time. They weren't, you know.
Actually, I don't even think the DOT ones were DOT.
No.
Like, you
know,
know,
they were,
like,
you know.
Like,
yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome.
So, obviously, STR diffuser. Like, I saw this on a lot of cars now. But back then, you know, this is Buddy Club rear bumper with 5 Ziggin exhaust. STR, right? Ed Bergenholtz, Ron Bergenholtz, right?
Yep.
Speed Labs. So they created that. I used to work at a shop back then, so we distributed it. So I had I had the parts. I was like, man.
Really,
like,
the only ones that understood it were the drag racing guys initially.
Well, I used to work for, and it's crazy that he is still racing, Norris Priantu.
Oh, wow.
Of what's it? He's doing. It used to be Priantu Racing. Now he's P-tuned. Yeah. Right, because he's doing all the supers now, right?
Yeah.
BMWs and stuff. So I used to work for him when he was just doing Hondas.
Wow.
Right. So he's actually the guy that taught me everything I know about like engine stuff. Right. Yeah. Because I was just the appearance guy, right? So I worked for him, and I was like, yeah, you know what? That piece I wanted on the back of my bumper so that the air can flow out. So he actually taught me a lot. And it's crazy because they're saying like in this area, like what he is in drag racing, I am in like the show scene. Yeah. Right? So it's crazy how our paths are similar. Hey, Copes, come here. Do me a favor. This latch right here, I need you to pull it this way so I can drop the back seat. So this is my son, Kobe. I have a story about him later. So again, right, I have a nitrous bottle in here.
Little sneaky.
Yeah, remote bottle opener, so I don't even have to, turn around and open it. I can control it from the front. But again, when I built my car stereo, I was like, this bottle got to go somewhere. Built it on the back of the sub box so I can close the back seat. Plus
we like to hide them anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never liked to admit that we had them, but we always wanted them. Oh, this car's incredible.
The deadliest part.
So, like I said, this car's been done inside out, right? Engine bay's been painted. It used to be automatic, so we swapped it out for a B motor. So this is a B18 C1 Integra GSR motor.
Nice.
It does have Skunk 2 intake manifolds, Skunk 2 stage 2 cams, valve springs, retainers. Again, when I was working for Norris, we were racing Tony Shag Day every weekend. And so we developed a close relationship with them. And so, when it was time to build my car, they had no problem
Yeah.
sending me parts, right?
This is awesome.
Yep.
And
Lot
this is again a time capsule under here.
Yeah, right. Top fuel intake, which you probably don't see anymore.
Nope.
Fluidine radiator.
Yep.
STR accessories, odometer gauges, you know, weapon R reservoirs.
Yep.
So I do want to say one thing, right? So when I decided to bring the car back out, I had to get it towed here because it was been sitting. And I had the brother that said, hey man, like, you need me to bring this thing to Honda Day. You got to fix it. Like, it's been 10 years, battery's probably dead, fluid's got to be drained. So they did all that. And then we were looking at it and it was like, let's update without
changing it.
Without changing it,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
you know, we dressed it up with a little bit of titanium, right? I hit up dress up bolts. They were more than happy to help with all the bolts. I hit up Hotsport. They were all about the project, so they gave me new motor mounts. I used to have Place Racing. I don't know if you remember Place Racing. Place Racing solid mounts. The day I put them in, I don't want to say I hated it, but I knew that it was not something I liked. It was just solid,
it's
shaking.
Everything moves, everything
moves,
shakes. The
right.
engine feels like it's bouncing.
Right. And back then there was no inserts, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, this is it, or
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
right?
it was pure solid.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's what was in here before. So they hooked me up. So thank you so much for Hotsport. Thank you so much for Dress Up Bolts. Obviously Brothers Garage. On all my other builds, I've been using Falcon tires. So when we decided, hey, we're gonna bring this back out, they hooked me up with a new set of tires for my Volk racing wheels. So thank you so much to them. And then obviously my vinyl guy, Vinyl Designs, Marvin over at Vinyl Designs, he was like, hey, we can't let all those guys help you out and not represent them on the hood. So we kept all the vinyl the same on the side, but we changed it on the hood because we're like, hey, for the 2024, let's put it on the hood so that, you know, they can see it. And then we're going to keep all the original stickers on the side.
yeah, because down the side, that's